it's really like little basic baby things you can do that will literally reshape the whole trajectory. So let me just tell you quickly, if I may, why black people tend to have less money than white people overall. It starts off with no inheritance, right? There's no, there's no money left from anybody. So there's no sort of cultural belief that to get started in this world, somebody has to pack a lunch for you. Think about when you used to go to school and your mother would pack a lunch for you and give you lunch, and you, because she knew you'd have to eat that day, right? She would get you ready for school. She'd put you in your school clothes and pack a lunch for you. You prepare for school. Well, you the same way you prepare for school, you should be prepared for life. So inheritance, in my view, is almost like someone packing a lunch for you to say, okay, life is going to be hard, life is going to be full of struggles, life is going to be full of racism, life is going to be full of economic challenges. Let us pack a lunch for you. We are the ancestors. We're going to pack a lunch for you, so that when you run into these obstacles, you're going to be fully prepared, and you're going to be well nourished, and you're going to be safe, and you're going to be economically good, right? So that's the first thing, right? So if you get out of that habit as a family of thinking somehow that you just die and you're just off the hook and you don't owe anybody anything, instead think of it as, my job is to leave something or pass something forward so that my children can go into this thing called life and be ready for it. That's massive right there. But let's assume you don't even have that, right? Well, then at that point, the biggest factors that tend to really mutilate black wealth a lot of times are things like student loans, just how you even view education. Student loan debt is actually the number one reason why educated black people have actually contributed to the wealth gap. They haven't reduced the wealth gap at all. So black people getting more college degrees has not done anything to reduce the wealth gap, because educated black people don't have a positive net worth most of the time. Most educated black people have achieved a social net worth. The social net worth comes from social integration. So because you have status, you have this college degree, you live in a certain neighborhood, you get a certain job, you're the first black senior manager at the Ford plant or whatever, right? So you got this social net worth, but it's not. But if you look at the economic net worth, when you look at assets minus liabilities, that's a negative number. When that's a negative number, that means that in the net worth, in the racial wealth gap category, you have added to the gap. You have not actually reduced the gap, right? So feeling like you're reducing the wealth gap is not the same as actually reducing the wealth gap. The other piece of that too is that if you are thinking about economics, you would really think of it as two tracks, right? You have one type of person. Rich Dad Poor Dad illustrates this really well. The guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad said that his poor dad taught him that the way you pay your bills is you learn how to do a job, and once you do the job well, then a person who makes money will pay you money to do your job, and then you can pay your bills. His rich dad taught him that instead of learning how to do a job to let a man pay who makes money pay you, instead, why don't you just cut the chase, cut the middleman out, and just learn how to make money? Just learn how to do whatever guy's paying you. Learn how to do what he's doing, right? He's the one that's making the money, so just go make the money, and you'll be fine, right? And so basically, that job seeking culture is it's incredibly destructive, and again, it's built on this false social capital that leads us to think that if I am an educated person who has a fancy job, even if I'm buried in student loan debt and not making the money that I deserve to make, that somehow I've achieved some sort of progress for the community. Well, whose progress? Who's really deciding that that's progress? Who told you that that was progress? Well, society told you. They told you this progress. You're a credit to your race because you're black and you have a master's degree, and look at you, you're so special, and that's all great and good, but you've got to really define what that progress is going to look like. So if you shift the thinking and say, okay, progress really means positive net worth, right? If I'm bringing assets into the community as opposed to taking them out, then I've won the game. Then that means you go to a whole different mindset in terms of what it means to actually make money. So then you're thinking about things like investing in the stock market. You're talking about real estate. You're talking about entrepreneurship. But all these things require skill. A lot of people, a lot of people invest in the stock market completely the wrong way. They invest like crazy. They invest like lunatics. They're just, gambling basically. They're throwing money at Dogecoin and all this other stuff and treating it just like you do a casino. And that's not how, that's not the best way to invest. It just doesn't work. It's stupid. It's chaotic, and it stresses you out. And you end up almost becoming like, there are people who literally invest in the stock market who are basically just gambling addicts now. There are lots of, this is the criticism of Robinhood. Charlie Munger, the OG who sits with Warren Buffett every year, he spoke to this, and I agree with him on this. He's very old fashioned, but I agree with him on this point. He said Robinhood should be ashamed because they basically took gambling addiction, the same methods used by casinos to get people to become gambling addicts, and they use that to get people to just start gambling on the stock market. And one of the things I can tell you about wealth is people with gambling addictions do not tend to have a positive net worth. A gambling addiction will destroy your wealth. That's one of those poisons that if that's injected into your soul and you are a gambling addict, you are at huge risk of losing everything that you have. And anybody who's married to somebody who is a gambling addict, you need to think about that because that's a tough addiction to break. So when you talk about stock market investing, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. Warren Buffett is a great example of a right way to do it. When you talk about real estate, same thing. There's so many opportunities in real estate, it's ridiculous. I would say that spending, just maybe 20 hours of studying real estate and where all the opportunities that are out there is worth more than about 80% of what our kids learn in public school. Like I would literally replace first, second, and third grade with a good 6-week real estate course for my child to some extent. I mean, assuming they know how to read and write and do basic stuff, because if you understand something like that, just that space alone, what you'll start seeing is you start seeing money everywhere, because and it's easy, it's straightforward. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I buy the house at in November of 2020, and I sell it in October of 2025, and the value doubles. That's how I make money, right? So ultimately, I would encourage you to understand that when you're talking about net worth, and I know I spoke on the, I'm answering this question extra long, but I just wanted to kind of drill into that. Um, Going back to the original point about sort of getting the stash account for your kids, I think that's important. I would also encourage you to just repeat these things to your kids. Like tell them that they want to understand stock market investing, they want to understand real estate investing, they want to understand how to start a business. And that last category of how to start a business, again, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. There's a lot more responsibility that comes with being a business owner than what comes with, say, being an employee. So getting them sort of prepared for that early and exposed to that early opens them up for a whole new set of possibilities when it comes to making money. And so get your kids started early. Just like completely get them off this grid that they already live on. This whole matrix that we're raising our kids on. It's terrible. It's really sad because I look around the internet and I see millions of uneducated black children who are now adults. Like literally the last 25 years of black kids going to school and learning nothing is now chickens coming home to roost. Now you got, I talked to a person one time who was about 28 years old, and she was asking me for financial advice about something with hair salons or something, and she was really good with hair. And I said, yeah, there's a lot of money in beauty. You can make a ton of money with that. And I was doing an example of like an affiliate partnership. And I said, so let's say that you have, let's say you have an agreement where, you make 10% of every dollar that gets made. So that means that if $100 gets made, you get how much? And I thought she was just going to say 10, right? Because it's 10%. And she froze. She didn't say, she didn't respond. I said, let me say it again. I said, so out of every, so you get 10% of every dollar that gets made. And if $100 gets made, you get how much? And she just guessed. She said, 42. And I remember I was kind of shocked that this person who was almost 30 years old didn't know that 10% of $100 was $10. And I really just share that to emphasize just how horribly, painfully uneducated some of our young people are. And it's made even worse because white people put those people on TV, and they get young people to imitate that behavior. They start looking up to ignorant people, and they start looking down on smart black people. They look up to smart white people, but they look down on smart black people because smart black people aren't really being truly black, right? And so you got to kind of fight against that culture. But if you do, it's very easy for you to teach your child to be wealthy. There's nothing about being black that says you're supposed to be poor, but there is something about being black that says you're supposed to carry a poverty mindset. And I encourage you to resist and rebel against that every chance you get. All right, so let's see. Next question. Let's see. Sharon says, Dr. Boyce would like to know your thoughts on VOO accounts versus traditional savings accounts. VOO. Oof, I don't know what the VOO account is. Maybe that's beyond me. Let me see here. VOO account. You mean Vanguard accounts? And you mean the ETF? Oh yeah. I think they're fine. I mean, I think especially if you can be more of a long-term investor, I think that ETFs that track the S&P 500 are a great way to get rich. There's a lot of people who don't know anything about investing, who have never gone to a finance class, who don't make a lot of money, who become extremely rich by basically buying an exchange traded fund and just you know reinvesting consistently on a weekly or monthly basis and not doing anything. Like the people that tend to get the richest in the stock market are the people who are the most passive. 9 times out of 10. Active investing is it's interesting. Active investing is fun, but active investing tends to lose people a lot of money. One of the biggest things that we learned mostly when I was in graduate school, when we would look at thousands of research papers on which types of investing styles work and which ones don't, is the most consistent theme I saw was to basically say, if you want to make money in the stock market, just plant your money, sit down and shut up and wait. That's it. And I could give you an example of how that would have worked extremely well now. Like if you went back, when Bitcoin was trading at $1,000 a coin or something, and just consistently bought Bitcoin and consistently bought some, different stocks, Apple and stuff like that, and did that, say, back in 2017, 2016, and did that consistently, like with some real energy, real effort, you would have a ton of money now. Like you'd have tens of thousands of dollars now. But instead we kind of we get into what they call market timing. We start believing that that the goal is to buy at the right time, sell at the right time, buy at the right time, sell at the right time, jump in, jump out, jump in, jump out. And that just doesn't work, because you're usually going to miss your opportunities that way, because the time when the market does make its move, you're not in it. So you got to buy in when it's high, and then so you're leaving at the wrong times and coming in at the whatever. So ultimately I would just say, don't be afraid to be a passive investor. I think that's actually okay. All right, so let me see. And by the way, guys, I have some stocks that I picked for you guys this week. If you log in at the blackstockmarketprogram.com, you can take a look at the stocks that I left in there. They're under what Dr. Boyce is buying, so feel free to go and log into the blackstockmarketprogram.com. And also, if you wanted to take a look at our financial workbooks for children, feel free to go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so I hope you guys don't mind. I think today I'm going to keep class a little bit short because I'm still feeling under the weather, and so now that the secret's out, I did have the COVID this week, and if you want to know how it felt, it did not feel that bad. But it does. It's something that I'm not stupid, right? Like I'm not gonna just act like it's nothing. So I quarantined. I went down to the basement and all that, and I slept a lot. And of course, between my wife and my mother, they had a ton of recommendations on what I needed to take and what I needed to eat and all that. So I was well taken care of. And but I'm still feeling not quite 100%. And but I just really wanted to come back in and talk to you guys because I hated the fact that we had to miss class on Tuesday, and we're going to pick back up next Tuesday. And so if you have a question for me for class that you'd like to leave for next week, just log in at the blackstockmarketprogram.com. And also all the recordings of the previous lectures and classes, everything is already there as well. And so I'll take a look at it then. So if I don't sound like myself, it's because I honestly have a little bit of COVID brain. I can't, my thoughts are not coming to me as fast as they normally would. I think it's just because I need to not make sure I don't overdo it. But if you want to know how it felt, I don't know if any of you had it before, but um, let's see. Right now, I have a little bit of a sore throat. Um, my feet and my hands were cold the entire week. I had a massive headache for about the first 48 hours and a little bit of a stuffy nose, but it never felt terrible. Like it didn't. It never felt like, oh my God, how am I gonna make it? It was just more like, oh God, this is getting on my nerves a little bit. So so I survived, and I appreciate the well wishes. And I saw somebody recommended honey and lemon, and I think I'm gonna go get some honey and lemon because that might be when I need some tea or something. So I hope you guys have a good day, and I love you, and I will talk to you all soon. So take care now. All right, bye bye.